Hi, I am Dr. Anindita Raichodhuri, currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at Sarojini Naidu College for Women, Kolkata. Today, I am going to discuss about Java AWT programming. Now, what is AWT? The full form of AWT is Abstract Window Toolkit. Java AWT is an API to develop GUI or window-based applications in Java. Now we know that the Java is a platform independent language, but Java AWT components are platform dependent. That means the components are displayed according to the view of operating system. Or in other words, we can say that the look and feel of AWT components are dependent on operating system. Okay, for that we need Java AWT package. The Java AWT package provides classes for AWT API such as text field, level, text area, radio button, checkbox, choice, list, etc. Now, what is the difference between AWT and applet programming? Java AWT programming and applet programming are alternatively called the graphics oriented programming or window based programming. But the difference is the applet program is intended not to be run of its own. It needs a web browser or applet viewer. Whereas AWT program does not require any web browser at all to run. It's similar to core programming in this sense. So this is the basic difference between applet and AWT programming. Now we will discuss about the Java AWT hierarchy. You can see that here the hierarchy indicates that it is the subclass, component is a subclass of object class, and the several subclasses are there for each and every implementation of the components. Like different components are button, label, checkbox, choice, list, container, and several containers are there like window, panel, frame, etc. So one by one we will discuss all the components and especially the panels, especially the actually containers, where we will include the other components according to our requirement. Now, what are the components which we will be using for these GUI applications? The basic and frequently used components are the button, label, checkbox, choice, list, text box, and the different types of containers like frame, panel, etc. For each of the components, there are corresponding classes. Using a class, an object of that desired type can be created. Each class have their own constructors for initialization of the objects. Now, what are the containers we will be using? The container is basically a component in AWT that can contain other components like buttons, text box, labels. The classes that extend container class are known as containers such as frame, dialog, and panel. Now the three important containers are window. The window is the container that has no borders and menu bars. So whenever we have to use some borders, menu bars, we must use frame, dialog, or other window for creating a window. Okay. Now panel. The panel is the container that does not contain title bar and menu bars. It can have other components like button, text field, etc. And frame. The frame is the container that contains title bar and can have menu bar also. It can have other components like button and text field. So frame is a very important container for our GUI applications. Now some useful methods of component class. We can see that the add is a very useful method where we can insert a component on a component. Now, another important method is set size, where we can set the size by giving width and height. Next, set layout. It defines the layout manager for the component. Now, the next function is or method is set visible, where it changes the visibility of the component. By default, it's always false. We have to set it true to make it visible. Now, the most important container which we will be frequently using in our application is a frame. A frame is a top level window with a title and border. It inherits window class and it has some constructors which are displayed here in the slide, shown in the slide. So if we use the constructor frame without any argument, it creates or constructs the instance of the frame which is initially invisible, and we can actually construct a frame object with the specified graphics configuration. It is also initially invisible. And if you want to give a title in a frame, so we can use this constructor frame in argument string title, which gives a specified title. It is also initially invisible. And the last one is frame, where we can give a title and also as well as the specified graphics configuration. It is also initially invisible. Now, how to create a frame? There are mainly two ways to create a frame. Either we can extend frame class, or we can create an object of the frame class. Okay. Now, one by one we will see how it is possible. Now, frame. Here we are extending frame class. So here the name of the class is myFrame, which extends frame. So extending frame class, it is possible to create a frame. So this is the constructor of the frame, myFrame, where we are specifying the size of the frame as width 300, height 300. The background color we are setting blue. We are giving a title using the function set title. The title is simple, just frame in Java. Here there is no layout manager, so we will set it as null. And the most important line is set visible true, because by default, since it is invisible, so to make it visible we have to write here set visible true, otherwise the frame will not be visible at all. And in the public static void main function, here we have to create a new object of that myFrame class. So it's quite simple, by which we can create a frame. Another way is, if you create an object of the frame class, it is also possible to create a frame. So instead of extending frame class, here we have created one object. Frame F is the name of the object. And the same thing we have done here by setting a title here in the constructor itself. Set size function here we have used it. Background also we have set. Layout manager here also is null. Now show function we have used here to display the frame. Okay. So these are the two ways by which you can create a frame. Now another important container is panel. Panel is the simplest container. It can have other components also, like button, text field, etc. It inherits the container class. It does not contain any title bar. So this is the difference between a frame and panel. So how we can actually use frame with a panel? Okay, so this is the example where we have created one object of frame. We have created one object of panel. Okay, we have set the size. We have set the background color. Layout manager is also here null. Okay, panel size also we have set here 100. Also the color of the panel we have set here yellow. Now the most important line here is here the object of frame f dot add p. That means we are adding the panel into a frame, and now we are showing the frame. So by default the panel will also be shown with the frame. Okay, so you can see that here the panel is of yellow color and the frame is of blue color. Okay, so this is the code by which we can create a panel and we can add it in a frame. Now button. Button is actually most frequently used component in AWT programming. So for that, java.aw.button class is used. Actually button class, we have to remember button class to create a button. Okay. Now why it is very important? Because the application cause some action to happen when the button is pressed. So for event driven programming, this button is very important. Now there are two main constructors where we can given a label by default. So public button, if you want to give a label, then you have to use string button label. But if you don't want to use any label, just if you create an empty button, so here the code will be just a public button without any string argument actually here. Okay. So this is the example by which we can add a button into a frame. So here button B we have created object of button, okay, where the label is click me. So it will be shown on the button level of the button click me. Okay. Now set bounds is a very important method or function by which we can setting actually the button position providing the x-axis, y-axis, then the width and the height. Okay. So it's basically provides the position of the button. Now to add the button in a frame, the function name is add b. That means the function will include the object of the button. And similarly the other programs what I have just discussed, here also the set layout is null. We have to be set visible true to make the frame visible. Okay. And the rest of the part is as simple as already we have discussed. Now this is the example of another example where instead of creating instead of extending the frame class, here we have created the object of the frame, and the same thing we have done. We have created an object of button, and using set bound function we have given the position of the button. We have added it into the frame. Size we have set. Layout here is null. Here visibility also we have to make it true, and here also we have set the background color as red. Okay, so I think this is similar to the previous one. Now this one is also very important because for applet programming, okay, for web-based programming, whenever we have to create some button, we have to create some program which is event driven. By pressing the button something will happen. So in that case, in applet program, if you want to add a button, then here the class button will extend applet class. And we know that in applet programming, whatever thing we have to do, whatever execution we have to be implement code, we have to write it in init function. So here we have created two buttons, B1 and B2, where in first button we have written in label welcome, and second button exit. Okay, this is very simple. Now to implement this applet program, we know that we need the help of HTML code, and to execute it, we have to use applet viewer or web browser. So in HTML program, we have just included the class file of this button program, which is the name of the class is button test. Okay. Now another important component is checkbox. Now checkbox is a graphical component that can be either on or off. That means true or false. Okay. Now clicking on a checkbox, it changes its state from on to off or from off to on. Okay. Now how to add a checkbox in a frame? This is also similar to the other components, just we have added. Here also we have to take a object of checkbox. We have to set all the things what we have done before, like set bounds will give the position of the checkbox. Okay, so here we have created three checkboxes, C1, C2, C3, and here the label or whatever word will be displayed or string will be displayed, we have mentioned in the argument C++, Java, and you can see that in C++ we have not mentioned the true, false, anything. So by default it is false. Now in Java we have mentioned as true. So by default whenever it will be displayed it will be checked. Okay. So we have added three components we have created C1, C2, C3 by f dot add C1. That means the object of frame dot add the object of checkbox we have created. The other lines are same as before, size, layout and visibility of course. Otherwise it will not be displayed in the screen. Okay. So this is the output of the program which is shown in the screen. Now label. Now label is a object or is a component. So whenever we have to create an object of the label, so like any other component just we have shown, we have to create the object of the label like label L1, L2 and we have to add it using the frame object. So here also the same as f dot add L1, it is actually there for adding the first label where the string which will be shown is also the first label. Okay, already we know that the label displays a single line of read-only text. Okay, it is read-only text. Why it is read-only? Because the text can't be changed by the application, but a user cannot edit it directly. Okay, the text can be changed by the application, but a user cannot edit it directly. Now, this is the output where it is shown that this is the first label, this is the second label. Okay, so whenever you have to display something on the screen using label, you have to create that label, you have to add that label into frame, then you have to make visibility as true. That means set visible true. Now choice. Now choice is a component and for that choice class is used to show the pop-up menu of the choices. Choice selected by user is shown on the top of a menu. It inherits component class. So how to create a choice? So here we have a list of choices or of different type of browser. Okay, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox. You have to select whatever we are selecting, it will be displayed on the top. Okay, so here choice C equals to new choice. By this line we are creating the object of choice class and we are adding three lines which are the different types of web browsers: Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox. And whatever line we will be select, it will be shown in the top, it will be displayed on the top. Okay, this is a pop-up menu. You can see this is a pop-up menu by which it will be shown a list of choices from which we have to select one. Now list. A list is a component which presents the user with a scrolling list of text items. Okay, it is a scrolling list. It will show the scrolling list of text items. The list can be set up so that the user can choose either one item or multiple items. So we can see that here also we have created one object of list L equals to new list. We have mentioned here four components. Okay, now C, C++, Java, Python, these are the four languages we have given in the list, and you can select one or more than one item from the list. The other coding lines are same. You have to make it visible by using set visible true. Okay, now we can see that the difference between the list and choice is, in choice you can select only one component, but in list you can select more than one component. Okay, so these are the components which are frequently used in AWT programming. I think it will help you whenever you will start your AWT programming. Okay, thank you.